if you believe in democracy, has the best line. The Department of Justice is not President's revenge act. No animal list. Not party hit jobs. Not pretending the law is just another campaign tool. So, what but happened when a Democratic senator asked a simple grown up question about political targeting? And the Republican running DOG tries to dodge, then immediately drags us into partisan grievance.
When you say the Epstein investigation, what are you referring to, Senator?
Well, the FBI said in last year in July that it had closed the Epstein investigation. So I'm just using their words. Is it open?
This is not complicated. Open or closed. That's oversight. That's the Senate doing its job. And notice but Blanche does immediately. He doesn't answer. He challenges the president, slows it down, fucks that Roma. Because a clear answer creates accountability. And accountability is but this whole megastand ecosystem can't stand. Was the don't deepen?
Or closed?
I don't believe the FBI said that.
Well,
I mean, if you're referring
you're head of the Department of Justice. Is the Epstein investigation open or closed?
but I guess I don't understand.
There's no way the FBI said that. Fine. Maybe they did. Maybe they did. Merkley is citing what he believes was said. But if we're running the Justice Department, you don't get to play cute. You don't get to act confused by the phrase absent investigation like you just landed from Mars. Answer the oversight question. Clear, direct. The public deserves clarity, not what games. Now, listen to the next move. This is where they shrink the question so they never have to answer the real one.
What Epstein investigation means. The investigation
Well, let me put
into
it
Jeffrey Epstein
differently.
himself, yes, he's dead. Any investigation into potential other bad guys will always be open if we have evidence that supports in any way, shape, or form that we can.
See the maneuver. Absent himself is dead. Yeah, everybody knows dead. But List obviously asking about whether DOJ is pursuing other people, other crimes, other networks, anything connected. And Blanche slides into this. Well, any investigation is always open if you have evidence, vagueness. That's not an answer. That's a press release. And the reason this matters isn't gossip, it's power. Because once you accept vague not answers, you also accept something worse selective enforcement. You accept will investigate when it's politically convenient. And Merkley goes exactly where he should go next political targeting.
This was after the FBI, and it was the FBI words when they said the investigation was closed. But what Trump wrote in November of last year, I'll be asking the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and the Department of Justice, together with our great patriots, the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationships with, and he gave a specific list, Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, people at J.P. Morgan, and many other people to determine what was going on. Is there a list particularly targeted at Democrats as opposed to being, if you will, blind to party affiliation, investigations that are being pursued under your direction?
This is the pro-democracy red alert. Merkley is laying it out. If the President of the United States is talking about investigating a specific list of named people, especially with a partisan flavor, then DOJ leadership better be willing to say out loud on camera, we don't do enemy lists here. Because that's how democracies night, not overnight, through normalization, through it just burns, through it just returning. And then it's the pureness, indictments, raids in where the boss finds. And Blanche tries to sound neutral. Watch.
Any investigation, no matter Republican, Democrat, man, woman, old, young, any investigation will be open if the Department of Justice and the FBI have evidence that a crime's been committed. And that doesn't, I mean, you're talking about Epstein.
You commit to pursue regardless of political affiliation?
Excuse me, Senator?
Do you commit to pursuing investigations free of prejudice about party affiliation?
Of course.
There it is. Of course, yes. That's the 9. That's the commitment you're supposed to hold him to. Investigations free of party prejudice. Now, here's the key. The question is whether that, of course, is real or whether it just be polite rapper before the pivot right back into grievance politics. Merciless sees the bigger danger and stays it mainly.
He has repeatedly, this president has repeatedly spoken of an enemies list that he wants to go after. And I must say, it's one of the symbols of the breakdown of a democratic republic when a president uses his Department of Justice, which you now head, to go after his perceived political enemies. I hope you won't be party to that. Thank you.
Yes, that's the whole ballgame. Not who's up in the polls, not who won the claim. The democratic question: do we have a Justice Department or do we have a political weapon? And Merkel is doing something a lot of people are too timid to do in this area. He's naming the threat models. Enemies this, the authoritarian energy. That's the state being personalized around one man's resentments. Now pay attention. BLANCHE pretends to agree, and then hate from Stipsley. This next line is by the row Kinges.
Thank you.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, and that's why what happened during the Biden administration was so disgusting.
There it is. He starts when I couldn't agree with you more, which is supposed to sound like shared civic values. Then he immediately uses it as a runway to scream, but Biden, and calls it disgusting. That's not an answer to the enemy list warning. That's a deflection. That's but about is dressed up like principle. MERKLEY is talking about stopping political revenge in the future. BLANCHE hears that and goes, yeah, and here's my partisan attack about the past. That's it, tell. That's how you know the instinct isn't protect the institution. The instinct is win the narrative. And MERKLEY does exactly what you have to do when somebody tries to non that paper as moral equivalence.
That is completely inappropriate and wrong. There is no comparison to the absolute fair-minded pursuit of justice under the previous administration and this administration's pursuit of an enemies list. Thank you.
Stop right there. This is the spine of the claim. MERKLEY refusing to let the witness drag the country into everyone does it brain drawn, because the both sides weaponized DOJ line is how you excuse actual weaponization. It's how you blood the line until a line disappears. And notice what MERKLEY is protecting here: public trust. If you normalize animalists, they don't just punish politicians, you punish regular people, because the law stops being law. It becomes loyalty. This is why these hearings matter, not because of the theatrics, because you and saying in real time the child. Answer oversight like a serious adult, or perform grievance like it's a campaign railing. His budget just boss, a Democratic senator trying to board the Justice Department to democratic norms. No party targeting, no revenge politics, no enemies language running federal power, and a Republican acting attorney general who says, of course, on neutrality, that immediately reaches for the oldest trait in the book. Pivot to the partisan outburst was the real question. That's the game. Tip it with, keep it tribal, keep it loud. Because the second DOJ is posed to be specific, the second it's forced to commit on camera, the whole animalist fantasy starts to look like what it is: anti-democratic poison. And if you're tired of politics as performance, full, you should be. Because the people trying to turn justice into weapon are counting on you to get numb. Don't.